Welcome to Break Away from the Rat Race, a podcast series to awaken your entrepreneurial spirit and help you achieve financial freedom. On our show, you'll learn about investments and how to create passive income. Let's get started with your host, Eric Martel.
Today, I will talk specifically about where you can find turnkey rental properties that generate passive income from day one. Welcome to Break Away from the Rat Race. And in the last couple of episodes, I shared my experience of selling my home to leverage the equity in order to acquire rental properties that generated passive income. In fact, in the last episode, I shared the real numbers associated with this transaction and how, using that equity, the number of properties that I was able to, or units that I was able to acquire, the number of the actual passive income that I would be able to generate from that, and then how it would cover my living expenses. And the feedback that I received is that a lot of friends and families and people watching the videos were kind of on board with that. They said, okay, well, they seem to be willing to do something like that, which I consider to be a pretty bold move, but they were willing to consider that. The only thing really that they wanted to know more was about, okay, well, where do I find these rental properties? And one of the examples that I was using in the previous podcast was $70,000 for a rental property, a single family rental property, and then that was creating a net cash flow of $200 a month, etc. So today, we will talk specifically about where you can find these turnkey rental properties, right? So before we get started, I just want to make sure that everybody understand that, there's real estate investment is a broad investment class, and there's many ways to invest in real estate that generate profit. In this particular case, when we're looking at these investments, we're looking at investments that are rentals and that provide passive income. So that's what we're focused on in this particular type of investment. So that really restrict our investment criteria. And we want to look at something that's also very simple, nothing exotic. And this is what we like about real estate in the first place. The other thing we want to look at is make sure that it's truly a passive investment, so that we have property management in place. They take care of most of the day-to-day business associated with your property. All you have to do really is check your owner statement and then make sure that you're in contact with them if there are any issues. But really, this is about it. Again, we're looking for positive cash flow. We're also looking for good return on your cash, so cash on cash return. So these are the four criteria really that we're looking for, right? So something that's easy to understand, that's truly passive, good cash flow, and then a good return. So where do you find these properties? It's easy. You just go on Google like everything else, and you look for turnkey rentals for sale. And then you're going to have a list of turnkey providers. We started Martel Turnkey to help our friends and family basically achieve financial freedom using rental properties. So this is what we created. We buy the properties, we rehab them, we put a tenant in place. We also put you in touch with our property management company. And then you basically have positive cash flow. So we recommend that you look at martelturnkey.com, but feel free to search on Google and compare what we are offering with what other people are offering as well. One of the things that we're looking at when we talk about our four investment criteria for this market, we're looking at different markets. So these investment criteria are not satisfied in every market. So we looked at many cities across the U.S. and these are the five, there are other ones, but these are the five top markets right now where you can, these investment criteria, you can find properties that meet these investment criteria. We're going to look today at Memphis, but you can look at all the other ones. And if you look at Memphis, you click on that tile here, it tells you a little bit about Memphis and then the different variables or the economic condition in that particular market, the different employers that are there, FedEx, AutoZone, and some more demographic information, right? We also talk about our property management company. This is, again, not our property management company. This is a property management company that is also handling our portfolio of rental properties in Memphis. Then finally, turnkey rentals for sale. So this is where you will find a list of our turnkey rentals that are for sale, as well as those that have sold. So you can look at all of those as well and compare. Every tile kind of gives you a little bit of information about the property, the initial investment that you have to make, and the potential return on investment. This is a cash-on-cash return that we've been talking about, 16% cash-on-cash return. When you click on the tile, it gives you a little bit more details. This particular property is under construction, so we don't have all the pictures here. Once the rehab is done, we will have the full picture, the full set of pictures here. We will also know kind of like the start date of the tenant. And then and that's it. So purchase price, the current rent, $725. So this is what we expect it to be. The other component here is the initial investment, so $18,000. So that includes a 20% down here, which is $15,000, right? And then there's like a $3,000 to cover for the mortgage and the escrow fees, basically all kinds of closing costs. But this is the kind of like at a high level what it is. We also put you in touch, if you want to have financial options, we can put you in touch with a company that we deal with. We have a couple of banks that can provide you that mortgage. We have property management company that we're partnering with, and we can refer you to them. And you can click on request financial. You enter your email information, and then you will receive a link to a folder where you have many basically the properties that are available. There's a spreadsheet associated with them that give you detailed information about the property. So we're going to look at this one, the 391 Washburn. On the summary page, you have again the property information, a little bit of the details here about the rent, what to expect in terms of property taxes, homeowner insurance, and then a summary of what if you were to buy it all cash, how much net cash flow would you get, what would be your return on cash, your cash on cash return here. If you were to do a mortgage and put 20% down, this is how much you would get in net cash flow, and then this is the return, your cash on cash return at that point. So if we look at the cash purchase, so we have another tab at the bottom here, and then it tells you the price, tells you the estimate of the closing costs, $1,500 in closing costs, and then a little bit of the details about the rent per year, etc. And then you end up with a net operating income of $6,830 annually, divided by 12,569, and then you have the 9% here. So if you were to take away the vacancy and the 5% vacancy and 5% maintenance, then you would be around here, around 7% cash on cash return. Typically we don't do that. This is the number that we focus on, because this is really money that you kind of set aside for vacancy and maintenance. If you want to use leverage, so leverage is basically using a mortgage to pay for 80% of the property. So the loan amount would be $60,000. You would need $15,000, of course, in down payment. Then you have the escrow fees, the same that we had before when you paid all cash, $1,500. Then you have the loan origination fee. So the bank will have some fees associated with the loan. That would include an appraisal of the property that will be done, and making sure that the appraisal is at least as high as the price that we're selling it for. All these numbers are the same except this one here, which is how much you're going to pay in principal and interest per year, $3,000, and then you would be left with $2,964 annually. This is the net operating income. And then basically after all of that, this is on a monthly basis, 247. So that's the number that we saw on the website. Cash on cash return, 16%. So that's basically the $3,000 divided by 18 will give you 16% a year. So when we talk about these cash on cash return, so this is the equivalent of if you were to put that $18,000 in the bank would give you $247 a month in interest. So this is what it means to have that cash on cash return. So I don't know too many banks that would do that, but so this is why these investments to us are very valuable, and we really recommend them to our friends and families and the people we know, because we think that's one of the best investment vehicle you can have out there, and also it's truly passive. So that's all I had for today. I just wanted to show you like specific properties that you can invest in them today. If you're interested, feel free to contact me. Request the financials for the properties and start looking at the numbers. And if you have any questions, feel free to connect. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you for listening to Break Away from the Rat Race with your host, Eric Martel. If you want to share your story and experience with our listeners, please message us on Facebook at Break Away from the Rat Race. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast on iTunes.